So let's check in with bottom of the deck. What's the overall energy of the reading? The Tower. We're just talking about that new normal. Life as we know it has changed forever. You know, we are going to be changed human beings at the outcome of all this. I do get the sense that we're going to be changed for the better. And in a weird way, this global pandemic is a weird blessing in disguise. Yes, it's scary. Yes, people are sick. And there are some who are dying, not surviving this pandemic. Our economy in the United States is tanking. We're in a bear market. There's talks of recession. There's talks of our economy reaching the levels of the Great Depression and maybe even moving past that. So it might be something unprecedented. We're not there yet. We are on trajectory to go that direction. Unemployment rate has reached about 20% in the United States. And people are scared. People are worried. People are stressed out about how they're going to pay their bills. How are they going to afford food? How are they going to pay rent, mortgages, right? The world as we know it is crushing down, is crashing, it's changing, it's evolving. And because of the social distancing requirements and the self-quarantine requirements, you know, how we interact and how we spend our time, our free time is different. It's much more restricted, much more limited, and for good reason. You know, we're trying to flatten the curve of the pandemic here in the United States. So it's important for us to be vigilant and to do our part as responsible Americans and responsible citizens, you know, to help slow the spread of this virus. But in doing so, we have been gifted with the gift of time, of quality time at home with our loved ones, with our family, with our spouses, with our friends, you know, with our community. Granted, social distancing restrictions are in place, but there's ways to come together as a community, to check on one another. And how we interact with one another is going to be different. And it's about leading from our hearts and opening our hearts to those in need, right? There is a lot of chaos, a lot of stress, a lot of panicking and fear-based energy out there. It's time for us to drop all that and say, all right, look, it happened. The United States is in crisis. Life as we know it has changed dramatically. Now, how do we flow with this new normal? How do we make it normal? How do we normalize the chaos? Well, how we do that is by us saying, all right, look, here's our routine. Here's the reality. We're home. And, you know, for those of you with children, school-age children, here's your schedule. You have to log on, and here you're going to go to school online. And this is how a routine's going to be. For those of you who are working from home, it's important to maintain consistency and, you know, get up at the same time, go to work at the same time, and end your day at a reasonable time, and not burn, you know, the midnight oil and not be such a workaholic. You know, it's time to really reconnect with ourselves and really reconnect with our values and our ethics and our morals and really assess and reevaluate what's important to us, right? So many of us used to self-identify with our job titles. You know, you'd be in a new social setting, maybe at a party. Oh, tell me about yourself. Oh, okay, well, my name is such and such, and I am blah, blah, blah for company whatever. Okay, well, you didn't tell me about yourself. You just tell me what you do, right? You are much more than your job title. You are much more than the job. And I get the sense that this global pandemic is forcing us to really look at that and remind ourselves of that detail. It's a very important detail. Who are you? It's an important question for many of us to be asking ourselves right now. Who are you? What are you about? What do you value? And what's important to you? Because I guarantee when this clears up, you're going to have a new lease on life, a new perspective on things. It's not going to be the same. We're all going to be different for the better. I truly believe we're going to be different for the better. So let's go ahead. Wow, yeah, let's look into your reading. Interesting. Yeah, so what's going on? Endings. I feel like this is the end of a cycle, the beginning of something new. It's difficult. It is difficult right now, and many of us are struggling with this new normal, coming to grips with what that means, trying to define it, trying to really just make sense of all this, But the chaos is ending, which is a good thing. The shock, that's what I should say. The shock is ending. The situation is still chaotic, and it's still evolving, and it may get worse before it gets better. The health officials are talking about, a 45 days until we peak before, we start to decrease the curve. And I know we're all trying to flatten the curve with all this social distancing. The shock, it's sending shock waves not only to our personal lives, but to the economy. But that's dissipating. And you're going to do very well with it, Scorpios, because you're gaining clarity on what this all means to you. And, you're starting to look between the lines and between the stories and the chaos, and you're seeing the truth. And you're seeing, you're gaining inspiration from all this. And Scorpios, you're very intuitive beings. And I feel like you're gaining spiritual wisdom and inspiration to be that hope for other people, whether it's for your family, your friends, your community. But I feel like some of you are really going to step out and as spiritual leaders and be that voice of reason, that voice of comfort, and show people that it's okay, that life is chaotic, but here's the light. Here's spirit in all of this. And it's all about interconnectedness and leading from our heart chakras, heart-centeredness, random acts of kindness. And it's not only flattening the health curve, but this is a chance for us to flatten the socioeconomic curve as well and eliminate the barriers, right? There's so many people out there in need who just need a break and who can really benefit from a random act of kindness. And I feel like Scorpios, this is you guys getting inspired to be the spiritual leaders of your community and to set the example and to say, hey, let's organize a food drive. Let's, organize a donation bank. Maybe set something up, again, within community guidelines in accordance with health officials, state official, instructions. But I feel like there's ways to be an inspiration to people who feel like all hope is lost, right? And you're going to be action oriented because overall outcome is the Page of Wands. And this is a doer. This is someone who's like, yeah, I got the spark. I've got the spark and I'm motivated to do something proactive in this situation. And you're going to do it. I feel like you're going to be a spiritual leader, or a beacon of light and hope for your community. And you're going to be able to rally people behind you and do some good, do some real good, for your community, for your family, for your friends, and this can also be through like online social engineering, it's like organizing, like cocktail hour on Facebook. One of my friends is doing that. And I think it's a fantastic thing. They've been meeting at 5:30 and you show up with your drink, your cocktail of choice, and they kind of pick a topic of what it is that they want to talk about. And it's something, it's something that piques the mind to keep us engaged in, in social relevancy. And it's not focusing on politics or the headlines, but it's like literary topics, something that's fun and creative, right? So things like that. I feel like this is you guys being that beacon of hope and light and sense of community. So yeah, interesting. But it's all about getting through this and knowing that things are different and turning a negative situation into a positive, infusing light, love, and wisdom into all this. And I'm telling you, in a weird way, this is a unique gift. I feel like this is a do-over. This is work your light once all this is said and done. All right. Yeah, so first card is the crumbling. What are you clinging to? And I feel like this is a Tower moment, right? Yeah. So that's interesting. We're seeing confirmation here and synchronicities between the messages. 2 Towers coming in. So what are you clinging to? That's an excellent question. I feel like you're clinging on to days of the past. I feel like some of you are clinging on to self-identifying with work, letting work define who you are. And that's typical of Americans. We do that. We do that because we're all about work, Yeah. But now it's like, okay, who are you now? Who are you now? How are you going to show up in your community? How are you going to show up not only for yourselves, but to your loved ones during this crisis? What are you clinging to? It's time to release that. It's time to release contrasts and barriers to social differences, and really opening your hearts and minds to the human race. Yeah. Up next is deep replenishment. It's coming in reverse. So retreat, rest, and be held. This is a time to slow down and really just appreciate the gift that we're given. It's time to rest. I feel like for those of you who are working at home, I think you're working at home, but the operational tempo is a lot slower. There's other of us who are home, but we're not able to work. So it's like, all right, well, now I have all this free time. What does that mean? Rest, recuperate, rejuvenate, recharge your batteries, and relook at yourself. Rediscover who you are on the inside. Not who you are by definition of society or of your employer, but who are you at your core, right? Yeah, so this is what we were talking about, rediscovery. It's rediscovering who you are, and at the core, or kind of like at our heart level, it's her inner essence. So who are you? Who are you meant to be? Who's this inside? That's the big question. Who's this inside? Who does this represent to you, Scorpio? Because this is not who you're portraying, right? We all portray a certain persona. Depending on the situation, we can portray multiple personas. There's your work version. There's your social version. There's your at-home version. But who are you at your core? This never comes out. I feel like now is the time to really discover who this is and to allow this person to shine through. Okay? That's rediscovering yourself at the truest essence of your soul. Your Nature's Whispers card is breakthrough. I feel like all of this is happening for a spiritual breakthrough, a spiritual awakening for the human race. Really, this is big. This is big. And again, life as we know it will no longer be the same. We will no longer be the same having gone through all of this. But this is a perfect time to allow this breakthrough to happen, to crack us open, to really get in touch with who we are and our truth, and to really redefine what's important to us. Many of us are going to be shifting gears from here on out. And the life that we were living, that may be gone. And now, after all of this has settled, and we're back off, we're no longer self-quarantining or social distancing, you may have a new normal, a new reality, and it may not be what it once was. You may have to completely reinvent yourself. You may have to completely rediscover yourself during this time period. Okay. Yes. So Scorpio, your archangel message is coming in from Archangel Azrael. Message of counselor. You are a natural counselor, and many people benefit from your guidance and reassurance. Wasn't I just talking about that? About you being the spiritual light, the light in your community? We talked about that. Scorpio, I feel like, many of you are going to turn on your heart light and let your spirit light shine through. And I feel like you're going to be the beacon of hope and wisdom in your communities. Not only, within your family and your friends, but I think also like in your neighborhood and your communities as well. But yeah, you're a counselor. Many of you are counselors, and many of you are highly intuitive, and you're able to tap into that and really give good, solid, sound advice to those in need. So this is a great time for you all to start working your light. Again, practicing social distancing, but you can do distance Reiki for those who need it. You can be a friend, text messaging, FaceTiming, video chats, all that. Chat rooms. So yeah, there's ways to connect and to really help others. But this is interesting, this counselor card that's coming through, because we talked about that in the beginning. All right. And your angel message is Omega. Victory. Your desire is coming to fruition. Keep up the good work. Yeah. Everything's going to work itself out. It is. It is. One way or another, it's going to work itself out. And it's going to be for the highest good of all of us. It may not be easy. And there may be, difficult times and challenges ahead. But it's for our highest good. And we're going to be better people for it overall.